There was a school shooting today in Florida. And the suspect that they have in custody went to an alternative school, had some discipline issues, wasn't exactly the most mentally stable of people, and still somehow had access to a gun in order to commit this shooting. And while I don't think anybody on either side of the political spectrum will deny that anyone with a history of mental illness or that has issues with violence and anger management and those kinds of things, those people should never have access to guns, and everybody will agree with that. And if this person was able to gain access to that gun because of their parents or because of a friend or another relative, then those people are equally responsible for not practicing safe and responsible gun ownership. However, we need to talk about why every time this happens, the left immediately jumps on "we need gun control for everybody" bandwagon. And I'm going to hit two major points. And the first is the hypocrisy behind whether or not they actually care about gun control. And the answer is that they don't care unless it makes them appear politically correct. There were 4 or 5 or maybe even 6 police officers that were killed in the line of duty over the last 10 days, maybe not even that long, 7 days. And no one from the left has spoken up about these senseless acts of violence with guns against our upstanding law enforcement officials. And the reason for that is because they don't care that cops were shot and killed. They care that children were shot and killed. And they care that people in Las Vegas attending a country music concert were shot and killed. But they don't care about acts of violence towards police officers, because they're part of what makes them popular with the groups of people that support them is that they promote when police officers do bad things. They don't report or promote people not doing bad things to police officers. And so in this case, they completely bypassed 5 or 6 or however many acts of gun violence towards police officers, and not one word was said about, we need to make guns harder to access for people. We need to stop these senseless acts of violence. And then, a few days later, there's a school shooting, and now all of a sudden it's another school shooting. We really desperately need this gun control. But we don't. And they know we don't. And they know it doesn't work, but they want to look like they're politically correct. The left would have you believe that guns kill more people than anything else per year in our country. And that's actually not true. There are a very similar number of gun-related deaths, and automobile-related deaths in our country each year. Within 200 deaths. It's 33,000 per year for both. And now everybody on the left is going to go, 33,000 people a year are killed by guns. We need gun laws. And they're going to completely bypass the fact that 33,000 people are also killed by cars. Okay, and if you were to ask them about, should we make it harder for people to buy cars or to drive cars? Should we make the driving test more difficult? What about stricter punishments for people that are caught driving without a license? They back off from that. Oh, no, well, I shouldn't be punished. It shouldn't be harder for me to buy a car or to take a driving test because somebody else can't get their act together. Really? They suddenly forget that mentality, though, when it comes to guns. When it comes to cars or people that stab other people to death, they're not out there promoting no more knives, eat steak with your hands. We can't have knives. They're dangerous. They kill people. They never promote stuff like that, but they do with guns. And the reason for that is guns are an easy target. They are something that people use practically and that people can just use for fun. Okay? And there are a lot of ways to kill somebody. If you literally got rid of, incinerated, no more guns existed, that is not going to stop murders from happening. Okay? Europe has really strict gun laws. People aren't allowed to carry guns there like they are here. And regardless, there are still people dying in Europe their terrorist attacks there. They use cars, again, here we're back to cars, to run over people. They rig cars again, we're back to that again, with bombs so they explode and take out people. They stab people. People that want to kill you will find a way to do it regardless of whether they have access to a gun or not. But the left doesn't say we need to make it more difficult for people to buy a knife, or we need to make it more difficult for people to buy a car. But they have no problem saying we need to make it more difficult for people to buy guns, or we need to stop having, gun access for random citizens altogether. Okay? They want to completely bypass an actual constitutional right that we have. There is nothing in the Constitution that says you have the right to buy a car and own one. There is nothing in the Constitution that says you have a right to own a knife, or to purchase the bomb making materials. There is no right protecting that. But you can go to the store and you can buy everything you need to make a pipe bomb, and nobody bats an eye. Nobody wants to control that. You can go to the store and buy laundry detergent and film yourself eating it, and the left just goes, oh well, that's their right. But we don't have the right that we actually have to own a gun. I should be punished and have my gun taken away from me and made it harder for me to buy other guns, or not allow me to buy other guns because some jackass in Florida decided to shoot up a school? It makes no sense. Their platform makes no sense. They contradict themselves so frequently and so thoroughly that if you put one on the spot, they call you racist, they call you any kind of phobic they can come up with, and then they start double talking to avoid the questions you're asking them because they know that there's no real answer for it. If you ask a liberal, why is it okay? Why do we not have more movements out there to, say get rid of alcohol, make alcohol illegal? Oh, well, we can't do that. I shouldn't be able to not have my wine in the evening because somebody else decides to drive drunk. Well, you know what? I should not have to lose my right to own or purchase a gun because somebody else decided to use one irresponsibly. And I am not saying that those kids, don't matter. And I'm not saying that that person should have had access to a gun. Right? There are always exceptions. But what the left continually glosses over and don't want anybody to catch on to is that you cannot control bad people doing bad things by punishing good people who use those items responsibly. You can't take away people's ability to cut their steak with a steak knife or to use a hunting knife for hunting because somebody decides to go out and stab somebody with a knife. And to suggest it would make you look like an imbecile. Why would you think that taking away knives from good people is going to stop bad people from using sharp objects to kill people? Well, it works the same with guns. If we want to start looking at ways to improve the safety in schools, we need to start with allowing teachers and principals to actually discipline students. Because that's where the problem is. I can't use discipline in my classroom. There's only so much I can do, and all the kids know it. And they know that school is a safe place because they literally can get away with anything, and it's safe for them to do whatever they want and say whatever they want, and there are very few consequences. And as a result, we end up with kids that come to school and they bring a gun, and the most we can do is send them to an alternative campus for 30 days or however long we send them over there because they broke a rule. There is no punishment. And so the next time they come back after those 30 days, there's nothing that says, okay, you did this, you broke this rule, you're gone. You can't kick a kid out of public school because it's their right to a free public education. Well, what about everybody else's right to safety? What about everybody else's right to learn, while that one kid has the right to disrupt their class because it's their free public education? We need to start making it a place that has a healthy level of fear. And that is called respect, and it's called discipline. And everybody my age and older knows that, we would not dare act the way that students act in school today because we feared our teachers. But it doesn't mean that we didn't consider school to be a safe place. We just knew that we couldn't get away with stuff. We need to bring that back. We bring that back, we'll see a drop in school shootings. Taking away guns from law-abiding citizens is not going to solve anything because those people are still going to be able to get them from other non-law-abiding citizens. People who break the law will continue to break the law. And if you have any questions about that, think about heroin, methamphetamines. Oh, maybe we should make some legislation that makes those illegal because they can cause really bad things to happen. Oh, wait a minute. We've done that and people still use them. Doesn't stop bad people from doing it. It just means that law-abiding citizens will continue to be law-abiding citizens. Okay, so as usual, you need to think for yourself. Don't be led around by the liberal media telling you that we need this kind of stuff. Call them out on their hypocrisy. Look for flaws in their platform because there are many. Think for yourself and don't be a sheep. Have a great evening.